Great question. What if the race is over? What if you didn't have to compete and strive and battle, fight? What's the purpose of life if I don't have to do all those things? What am I going to do with all of my energy and passion and my drive? What am I going to do with all this? What if there's another way to take all that you are, all that you can be, all that you will be, and focus it into the perfection of Spirit expressing through you each and every moment? That you can't make a mistake, that you can't go wrong. I have some friends, instead of saying namaste, they say, no mistake. Everything's unfolding perfectly if we let it. If we don't interpret against it, if we don't fight against it. A lot of times, you know what we're competing against? The perfection of the universe. We're fighting with God. Who do you think's going to win that battle? Eventually, you're going to give in. You're going to surrender. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story of surrender and how I got to the message for today. The title of the message for today is, There Must Be Another Way. Now, the first time I heard that was the story of how A Course in Miracles came to be. A lot of you know that Lily and I teach A Course in Miracles, and I've been doing so for almost 30 years, maybe more. The Course in Miracles is probably the most impactful and most important spiritual text of this century. It started in 1965 with two people, Helen Schucman and Bill Thetford, who were psychologists who worked together at the Columbia Presbyterian University Psychology Department. They didn't actually get along all that well in the beginning. People thought they were best of friends right from the start. It wasn't the case at all. They had very different styles, and they often butted heads, and there was a lot of competition and a lot of frustration, a lot of anger in that department. Now, all of that went against the mission of why they were there, which was to build a solid and wonderful psychology department. They weren't achieving their mission because they were stuck in this way of relating to one another. This attitude pervaded their workplace and relationships and their effectiveness. And so one day, Bill Thetford decided to talk to Helen Schucman about it. And he gave her an impassioned speech about, I'm tired of how we're doing things. There must be another way. And I'm going to find out how to do it. And to his surprise and hers, she said, I will join you in this endeavor. I'm committed to finding another way to be with each other, to be in the world, and to have harmony, peace, and effectiveness, really, in our department. What's happened after that went well beyond their department. Something happened that ended up touching the whole world. And that was that Helen began, in that moment, it was like she had waited for that moment her whole life. She began having visions. She began having lucid dreams. She began hearing this wonderful voice speaking to her, which she identified as the voice of Jesus. And after a while, that voice said to her, this is A Course in Miracles. Please take notes. And she was a little concerned. So she called up her now friend and co-worker, Bill, and said, Bill, I think I'm going crazy. I'm hearing this voice. He says, what's the voice telling you? And she says, this is A Course in Miracles. Please take notes. He says, well, then take notes. Write it down. Bring it to me in the morning. And then we'll see if you're crazy or not. She brought it to him. He would type it up. he would read it back to her, and they realized something extraordinary was happening. She was receiving this amazing information that was later to be put into a book, the text, the workbook, and the teacher's manual of A Course in Miracles. It all started with the question, there must be another way. Let's find it. I'm going to find it. And Helen said, okay, I will find it with you. So it's amazing to me. I mean, Helen gets all the credit for scribing A Course in Miracles, but they did it together. And the first impetus for this work to come through was Bill Thetford saying, there must be another way. We have to find a different way of relating to one another. Now, this isn't a new idea, but it's an idea whose time has come. Back in the 13th century, there was a guy named Rumi, wonderful mystic and poet, which many of you know. And he wrote, out beyond the ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. That's where I will meet you. I'll meet you there. No, get past this is right and this is wrong to what is true, what is eternal, what is constant, what is forever. There's no right and wrong in heaven because everything's perfect. This goes way beyond your ideas of right and wrong. There's a field of infinite possibilities. That's what unity calls it. There's a field. I'll meet you there. How can we reach this field of consciousness is my question. There must be a way to reach this field of consciousness. And once I get there, how can I expand my awareness of the field? That's why we have a spiritual center, to help us expand our awareness of the field of infinite possibilities where everything is perfect. Beyond all our thoughts of limitation and separation, there is another way. It's being revealed to us each and every day. It's being revealed to you, this other way. Another way of thinking, another way of feeling, another way of being. Marianne Williamson, who's running for president, by the way, I find this just fascinating. Course in Miracles teacher. Thought she should use these ideas in her campaign, by the way. Forget all of those other ideas. Bring these ideas. Thought is cause. Experience is effect. Your thoughts are causing what's going on, not the other guy. It's your thoughts that's causing it. And so what you experience is what? The effects of your thoughts. This is also a very old idea, but an idea whose time has come. If you don't like the effects of your life, what do you change? Not what's going on out there. You change the nature of your thinking. Now, what I really love about this is the word nature. That's the core idea. The core idea here is the nature of your thinking, the form in which you're processing information. It's a completely different way of experiencing yourself and the universe and the world and the people around you. We often want to fit these expansive ideas into our old thought system. It doesn't work. The old thought system is what's keeping you bound in the separation and limitation and the pain and the suffering and the thoughts of separateness and division. All of that is just coming from a thought system which we can abandon and adopt a new one, another way. I love this because we want to change fundamentally how we're thinking. We're not just fitting different ideas, different perceptions and concepts from the old thought system into a new puzzle to create a new picture. The new picture looks just like the old one. You go, how did that happen? We often want to fit these ideas into our old way of thinking. Now, I'm not saying that this is a better way of thinking. I'm just saying it's another way of thinking. I'll let you be the judge of if it's better for you or not. You be the judge of it. Just try it. And you be the judge of whether it works for you, whether it's better. It doesn't matter to me the value judgment that I place on it. What matters to me is the experience I'm having in relationship to the universe and those around me. Is that changing? Are the people around me being healed? Are the people around me happy and joyful? Are the people in my life and in my world transforming? Am I creating community? Am I celebrating our love? Am I transforming the lives of those around me? So I'm not saying that it's better than any other thing. What I'm saying is that it's a way of thinking that includes every other thing. And this is very hard for people to understand because you always want to have an opposite to define what you're doing. This is just way beyond that. That's why I took the time to retranslate Charles Fillmore's Invocation, because it fits more closely my experience. And so it's going to give you kind of room and maybe motivation to fashion prayer in a way that fits your experience. What I'm saying is there's a way to do that. We're going to get a lot more into this in the coming weeks. We're going to get really into what affirmative prayer is and how I can shape my mind, my prayers, my thoughts, my thinking, my feeling according to the Spirit within me, not according to some doctrine that somebody has prescribed for me. Because the old thought system and the old doctrine has led us to all the problems we have today. If we want to get out of that, we got to adopt something new, something different, another way. So if we can get out of the perception of the right way or the wrong way, then we'll enter into the field of possibilities. Infinite possibilities. I'm not saying your way is wrong. I'm saying it is evolving. I believe that that's what Rumi was talking about, this field of pure possibility. And you know what? Anyone and everyone you meet will meet you there in that field when they're ready. Your job is to stand and be ready for them. Be welcoming. Welcome that beautiful soul into your life, into your heart. Join them in that field. Don't try to join me in your complaints. Don't try to join me in your judgments. Please don't try to join me in your mission to make everyone else wrong. Everyone is evolving at their own pace, and they will meet you in that field eventually. Your job is to get to the field of consciousness. Your job is to get there yourself. Because if I'm judging where somebody else is on their path, I'm certainly not in the field. I'm not on my path. I'm in a way of judgment. I'm in a insistence on a world of illusion that I made up. The illusion that we are separate. The illusion that somehow there's some evil in you. Somehow there is something wrong with the universe. It's not unfolding perfectly. It's not unfolding as planned. What am I saying then? The Creator, or creation itself, is not perfect. It created you, didn't it? So, now we're getting there. You're talking about yourself. You're saying, I'm not perfect. I have all these things wrong with me. Therefore, the world must have something wrong with it. Because you're only going to project onto the world what's in your mind. What if you believe that you are the Christ, that you are God, that you are Spirit, that you are love and only love? What if you really, truly experience that in your heart and mind? What kind of world are you going to experience? Wow! Doesn't it sound like a great idea? Why don't we start doing that? Yes, thank you. It's another way. I know, it's different than what we're used to, but let's try it. It isn't about the form that your journey takes. That will always be unique to you and perfect, and I honor that. All paths to God are perfect. It's more about the authenticity of the call. Deep in your heart, the universe will answer you. Spirit will answer with exactly what you need. Bill just said there must be another way. Helen said, yes, I want to find that way too. And guess what happened? Spirit spoke to them through Course in Miracles. It didn't exist before. How did it come into being? Through the question, there must be another way. Let's find it. That's all. That's all you have to do is seek that other way. Just go there in your heart and mind and authentically listen to the call. How deeply am I listening to and following Spirit? That's the question. It's more about the content of your consciousness. It's what the Buddhists might call the middle way, or the third way in cognitive science. There's always another way. Between perceptions, there's another experience available. The middle way, or the third way, is the God way. It's the be still and know way. It's the I am that I am way. It's the I am, the truth, the way, and the life. It's the way of Spirit. But it's the way that we will all seek and find eventually. So my only call to you today is to seek that other way. Is to seek it authentically in your heart. Not just in concept. And doesn't help me to go out and try to teach everybody. I'm blessed to be in this environment. But if you go over to Stop and Shop and start trying to teach everybody about the other way, it's not going to work. You have to live it. And in that instance, you have to live it without your concepts. Just live it. Just be it. Vibrate. The universe responds to what? Vibration and frequency. Doesn't hear words. So if you're always going around telling everybody what you know, check your vibration. Really, check your vibration. What's behind it? Check the vibration there. For me, this is a both and approach. It's not one way or the other. I always try to adopt this both and. Whenever there's like a question of, is it this the right way or is that the right way? I would say, well, perhaps it's both and a lot more. Let's take into consideration both sides of that, bring it into the middle, and then see what Spirit adds to it. Let's see what else we have available to us. It's both and. It's not either or. You see the people looking at the number from either sides, and one person sees a 6, and the other person sees a 9. And so from that person's perspective, it's a 6. And it always will be as long as he's in that position and seeing it from that perspective. And it will always be a 9 to the other person. Unless what? You stand in the other person's shoes. You get on their side and go, oh my goodness, it does look like a 9 from over here. Wow, it looks like a 6 from over here. You were right all along, but I wasn't wrong either. I was just seeing it from my other perspective. Wow, in some cultures that might not even be a 6 or a 9, it might be a letter. It might represent something totally different. But in truth, all it is a stepping stone to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and on and on and on. Don't get stuck in your perception. Don't get stuck there. Whatever your perception is, no matter how lofty it may be, no matter how spiritual it may seem, don't get stuck there. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to move and evolve. This kind of perception cannot be obtained with limited, linear, judgmental thinking. I have to allow myself to think with the mind of God, the universal mind. I cannot get there with the same old linear thinking. It just doesn't work. You know, that stuff works great if you're building a house or if you're an engineer trying to build a building or the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. You need linear thinking, believe me. But in your daily spiritual life, it's time to let that go. It's both and. I need it to get along in the world, but I need to let it go to realize what is true. So this kind of perception is spiritual perception. The Course in Miracles calls it perceiving with the Holy Spirit. And it's a wonderful, incredible experience. And it's what Helen experienced as she was scribing her Course in Miracles. It was the Holy Spirit in her that could perceive the voice. It was the Holy Spirit in her that could write it down. It was the Holy Spirit in her that could bring it to Bill and have Bill type it up. It was the Holy Spirit that could hear the voice for God speaking to her. From her linear, judgmental, limited thinking, it was crazy to hear a voice and write it down and think that it was going to have any importance to anyone. But it happened to end up having more importance to this world than any other spiritual text in the last 60 years. 58 years. Well, it'll be 60-year anniversary in 2 years. 2025. So 58 years of thousands, millions actually, of people transforming their lives through A Course in Miracles started with the sentence, there must be another way. There must be another way. I don't know what that way is for you, but again, as Rumi said, as you start to walk on the way will appear. Doesn't seem like there's anything there right now, but when you take that first step, it begins to appear for you. Just keep walking in that direction, move in that direction. Allow the way to appear for you. Take the time to step aside from your old way of thinking and allow this new way to take hold in your heart and mind. You will discover this other way. And you will discover you always had it. It's always been with you. It's always there. Don't you wish it were true? Well, it is true. I love you. Have a great week, you guys.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass., and visit us online at unityoncapecod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.